The experiment that changed everything. There is a social experiment that changed how I see human relationships forever. Researchers divided a group of strangers into two rooms. In the first room, people were told each other's salaries. In the second room, they were not. Then both groups were asked to rate how much they trusted each other, how much they liked each other, and how willing they were to help each other. The results were disturbing. The moment people knew each other's income, every single relationship in that room became transactional. The higher earners became targets. The lower earners became invisible. Nobody talked about it out loud, but the dynamic shifted the second that number was out there. You couldn't unsee it. That experiment taught me something I wish someone had told me earlier. The more people know about you, the less they respect you. And today, I am going to show you exactly why, starting with the 3 questions you need to stop answering for the rest of your life. Because right now, without realizing it, you are probably handing people the exact tools they need to one day use against you. Never tell anyone what you make. The first question sounds completely harmless. What do you make? What is your salary? What is your financial situation like? This question feels innocent. It sounds like curiosity. It might even sound like someone wants to help you or relate to you. But there is a psychological mechanism happening underneath it that most people never see coming. Leon Festinger, a psychologist, spent years studying how humans evaluate themselves. His conclusion? Human beings do not have an internal scale for measuring their own worth. We borrow one.
Your past is a weapon they are waiting to use. Now, the third question is the most dangerous one because it disguises itself as intimacy. What is your biggest regret? What is the worst thing you have ever done? What mistakes have you made? We have all been there. Late at night, with someone we trust, the conversation goes deep, and suddenly you are confessing things you have never said out loud before. It feels like release. It feels like connection. It feels like finally being known. But here is the transition most people miss. What feels like intimacy in the moment becomes inventory in the long run. Here is the psychology nobody talks about. Humans are not built to hold other people's secrets without consequence. When you share a past failure or a private shame with someone, that information does not sit still inside their mind. It gets filed under a category. The category is called what I know about you that you would not want others to know. Most of the time, that information stays filed harmlessly. But relationships change. People grow apart. Business deals go sour. Friendships dissolve. And when they do, that filed information becomes a weapon. Not necessarily because the person is evil. Sometimes it happens because hurt people look for leverage.
There is a clinical term for this in psychology. It is called vulnerability exploitation. Therapists see it constantly. A couple breaks up and suddenly one partner is texting mutual friends with the private confessions the other one shared during their most intimate moments. Not to destroy them necessarily, but because pain makes people reach for whatever hurts back fastest. Here's what you need to understand. Your past mistakes are already paid for. You lived through them. You learned from them. You changed because of them. You do not owe anyone a public audit of your growth. If someone asks about your regrets, tell them you prefer to focus on where you are going. If they press, tell them that your past taught you everything you needed and you do not revisit it anymore. That is not a deflection. That is self-respect. The power of being unreadable. And now here's the part that ties all 3 of these together. Something almost nobody talks about, and it is the most powerful thing you can take from this video. Think of the most powerful person you have ever personally met. Not the loudest one, not the most talkative one, the one who made you feel like you were being carefully watched without them saying much at all. I guarantee you did not know their salary. You did not know their full story. You did not know exactly what they were building. And that unknowing made you respect them more, not less. That is not an accident. That is a strategy. We live in the most overshared era in human history. Social media has convinced an entire generation that being open is a virtue, that vulnerability is strength, that sharing everything makes you authentic. But there are 2 different types of vulnerability. There is the vulnerability that connects you with people who have earned that access. And there is the vulnerability that you throw at strangers and acquaintances because you were never taught that information is power. The most respected people in any room are rarely the loudest ones. They are the ones you cannot figure out. You do not know exactly what they make. You do not know their precise plans. You do not know their history. That mystery creates gravity. It forces people to
Here is what I have watched happen in real life. A man shares his salary in a casual conversation with a close friend. 6 months later, they have a falling out over something completely unrelated. But now, that friend uses the income information as a weapon. He tells mutual friends the guy was always struggling, always complaining, never had his life together. And suddenly, people who had no opinion of this man now have one, built entirely on a private number he shared in a moment of trust. Keep your financial life in a vault. If someone asks, tell them you are doing well. If they push, tell them you have a personal rule about not discussing money. That is not rudeness, that is self-preservation. Your dreams are not safe with anyone. Now, the second question is the one that hurt me personally before I understood it. What are your big dreams? What do you want to do with your life? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Here is something neuroscience confirmed that the self-help world never fully explained. In 2009, a researcher named Peter Gollwitzer at New York University ran a series of studies on goal setting and identity. What he found broke every conventional rule about accountability partners and sharing your dreams. When you announce a goal to another person and that person acknowledges it, your brain registers a premature sense of completion. The social recognition acts like a substitute for the actual achievement. Your motivation drops, not because you were lazy, because your brain genuinely believes some part of the work is already done. So every time you sit at a dinner table and tell people about the business you are going to start, the book you are going to write, the city you are going to move to, you are literally draining the psychological fuel you need to actually do it. And here is where it gets personal, because I have watched this destroy people who had everything it took to make it. Small-minded people do not process your ambition as information. They process it as a threat. When you tell someone with a mediocre life that you are planning something extraordinary, they do not get inspired. They get scared. Because if you actually pull it off, their excuse for staying stuck collapses. Your success destroys the story they have been telling themselves for years. So they do what threatened people always do. They attack the dream before it can become real. They list all the reasons it will fail.